Today, I am bringing you a follow-up in case you wanted to know how things ended, and it is going to come courtesy of the one and only Spike Cohen. That's the 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidate and chair of You Are the Power. Now, Spike, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, and I appreciate you definitely sharing us with an update, because before you'd come on the show and you had spoken about a situation in Gastonia with about the recent killing of Jason Lipscomb. And I was wondering if you can kind of just bring everybody up to speed in terms of what we initially spoke about that brought you to the show last time.
Sure. So last time, what I was on the show about was about the wrongful arrest and abuse of a homeless veteran named Joshua Rohrer. And long story short, they wrongfully arrested him. They illegally separated him from his PTSD service dog. They tased the service dog, who later died. They claimed that the service dog had bitten them and that he was resisting arrest. He and multiple eyewitnesses claimed that that's not what happened at all. And we have been fighting for the better part of several months, almost a year, to get that body cam footage released, which would have shown obviously what had happened one way or another. And for whatever reason, the Gastonia police and the DA, Travis Page, fought in court multiple times to block the footage from being released. Now that it has been released, we know why. Not only did they wrongfully arrest Joshua, not only did they assault him and his service dog, but they were also intimidating and threatening witnesses with jail time if they said what had really happened that they saw, and many other things. They committed multiple crimes. The video has just been released. That you can actually see that on my YouTube channel. And so now the next steps are we are pushing for full accountability for these two officers, Maurice Taylor III and Sierra Brooks, as well as any other officer who has committed a crime there. We are also calling for the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation to get involved, because Officer Taylor's father is the head of internal affairs in Gastonia, so we don't expect an impartial investigation there. Yeah, no, there are layers to it. And so, but we have all of the charges have thankfully been dropped against Joshua. We now have the footage released to the public, and the next step is to get the justice there. And unfortunately, I wish I could say that was the only abuse or harm that was being done by the city government there.
Wow, that's a very powerful thing that you were able to get the footage and then also to have the charges dropped, especially on behalf of this man, because he doesn't have the resources. And police, when we see abuses, often will target the most vulnerable members of society.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, seeing that you were able to use your privilege and your power to push for justice for Joshua is an incredibly powerful thing. And so you must feel an immense sense of relief. I'd like to say that, but I understand that this situation also rolls into the police killing of Jason Lipscomb. Can you tell us about that?
It does. Well, I believe it does, because for those who have been following it, a man by the name of Jason Lipscomb, who was also killed by Gastonia police about a week or so ago now, and the police are claiming that he had run over one of the officers and that they were shooting only to defend him, defend the officer from him. And his survivors and family are claiming that's not what happened. Again, there's multiple officers on the scene. There's body cam footage. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I don't know. Let's see the footage. And this is a troubling continuing pattern where we see that the police there will make a claim and then do everything they can to keep the footage that would show us exactly what happened from being able to be seen by the public. And that's a very troubling thing. In addition to that, when we were out protesting and have been out protesting and rallying at the courthouse and at the city hall, we were told that we could do it so long as we remained, I think, at least 50 feet away from the building, which was on the sidewalk. Now that these mostly black protesters have been showing up for protesting the Jason Lipscomb killing. Now that's been made to 300 feet, which means either private parking lots where the private owners could ask them to leave, or the parking lot for, I believe, the city hall, where they could also be asked to leave because it's not safe to be picketing in a parking lot. So we have seen some unequal treatment there. There was a journalist by the name of Scotty Reed who was there on the public sidewalk, literally just observing and reporting what he was seeing in the protest, and he was arrested. It's a blatant violation of the First Amendment. Our activists with You Are the Power are already reaching out to Mr. Reed and to the protesters there to see how we can work together, because I believe this is a common fight.
Yeah, and it actually sounds like it's something that we're often seeing across the country, where we're seeing abuses of power from law enforcement, and also a lack of transparency when there is a death or there's any kind of use of force that is lethal in some way. And so, I guess if you can help people understand a little bit more about what are the rules, what are the laws in particular when it comes to body cam footage. I know it can differ per city as well as maybe even on the state level. So what applies here?
That's the problem, is that in North Carolina, instead of the body cam footage being able to just be automatically released or released in the case of someone requesting it, it has to be released by a judge. Now that shouldn't be a problem in and of itself, but we know what happens when it's in front of a judge. The judge is going to defer to the police and or the DA on what they think needs to be done. And so we see this time and time again in North Carolina. When the police don't want body cam footage released, it doesn't get released. And when they do want it released, then it does get released. So anytime that I will admit, I'm on the side of the if you have nothing to fear, then you have nothing to hide. Anytime that the police are trying to get body cam footage blocked, tells me that they have something to hide. I don't know, and it's a big problem. There's actually yet another thing that the city government there has been doing that has been an abuse as well, that has resulted in the death of nearly 100 homeless people in Gastonia in just the last year. Pastor Moses Colbert operated the only homeless shelter in Gastonia. They forced him to shut it down earlier this year. Dozens of homeless people have died as a result, and he's trying to get it reopened. They're now claiming that there's a water leak that he has to spend thousands of dollars to fix, even though it's on their property and it's their responsibility. And it's yet just another example of the complete callous disregard that the city government and the police and the DA and everyone else in power there have for the most marginalized in that community. And we're going to continue to fight until we get justice for all of them.
All right, then. It damn sure seems like you have a lot of things that you are going to be addressing and working on. But before I jump into what's going on with Pastor Moses, as far as it seems with the body cam footage and getting a judge to maybe be objective and actually be judicial, and where do things stand right now?
With the Jason Lipscomb footage, I don't even know if I don't believe the hearing has even been had yet to have the footage released. If and when that happens, we will be there calling for the release of the footage. There's absolutely no reason that we should not be seeing the footage. They've been relying on a Ring doorbell camera that shows a very small segment of what happened to say what happened. And the thing is, it doesn't really show what happened. You see a bunch of officers running towards a car, and then you hear a bunch of gunshots, but that doesn't tell the story. And so it's really a he said, she said until we see the actual footage. So no, we will absolutely be there calling for that. Another thing that we are calling for in the wake of all of these things is a change at the state legislative level. There's no reason that this level of bureaucracy needs to be had to release body cam footage, not this day and age. I mean, I would argue that it needs to be live streamed every time it's turned on. But if it's not that, at the very least, there needs to be a very easy, simple, streamlined process. This needs to be as simple as a FOIA request. There needs to be, unless they have a very compelling reason not to release it, it needs to be the standard that it is released. This is public information. It's paid for by the taxpayer. It is involving the possible abuse or even in this case, the possible murder of someone. And there's no reason that the public shouldn't be able to see what happened for themselves.
And I couldn't agree with you more. There should be some kind of statutory time limit in terms of law enforcement preparing that footage so that it can be released and offered for anyone who would like to see it, because you are absolutely correct in terms of the public being the ones who technically do own the footage and should have the right to access it and to view it, because accountability and transparency is essential in what is supposed to be a democracy. 100%. But as we move on, because I want to make sure we get to discuss it fully in this time we have today about Pastor Moses Colbert. You mentioned that he is trying to reopen the homeless shelter and there is a water leak on the city-owned pipes, but the city claims that it's not their pipes. How is that?
That's correct.
How is what? It would either be their pipes or not their pipes. I don't understand.
It is very clear cut. It is on their pipes. They're just claiming it isn't. They're saying, no, this is on your side. Pastor Moses actually paid for a plumber to come out who confirmed, no, it's very simple that this is on the city's property. And so it should be theirs. And so when we go to the next city council meeting on August 16th, we will be there to call for many different things. And one of them will be for them to confirm that it is on their property and for them to fix it. Pastor Moses is trying to stem the tide of an incredible number of deaths that have happened of homeless people in that area with his Faith, Hope, and Love Ministries. His vision eventually is to not just have a shelter meeting their basic needs, but also to have an educational center and all sorts of other incredible stuff. But he can't do that if they don't have running water. I mean, first of all, the hygiene issues, but also the fact they wouldn't let him open it without the running water. So we're going to be calling for that as well.
That's kind of wild to me, telling me that the shelter's probably inhabitable because of the city's behavior. That's very rich, and it's incredibly unfortunate. And it's those who are most vulnerable who end up losing out the most, particularly right now when we're seeing weather patterns that are first of their kind. And especially as we enter now the fall season, which will roll into winter. And so having these shelters available, up and efficient and operating is so incredibly essential. But there are so many things clearly that you are working on and fighting for there in the Gastonia area. And so I definitely commend you. And I am very, very happy that you are continuing to use your voice to uplift these individuals there. And for anybody who wants to look at that Facebook footage or also to get involved and to help uplift you, whether it's to show up at the courthouse during these hearing dates, can you please let people know where they can find more information and where they can follow you in your journey and your fight?
Sure, you can follow my social media. I am Spike Cohen on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and everything. You Are the Power is also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Or you can go to youarethepower.net to become a member. What we're doing in Gastonia, we're doing across the country. This is just one of many cases that we're taking on like this, and we'd love for you to join us. We are fighting for justice wherever it needs to be fought for.
Yes, and thank you so much for continuing that fight. We very much appreciate it. We commend you, and we encourage those viewing to join you. So thank you so much. That's Spike Cohen, 2020 Libertarian Vice Presidential Candidate, as well as the chair of You Are the Power.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.